Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank my good friend from New York. This debate is already heartbreaking to me. Every time I hear the District of Columbia mentioned in the same breath with other appropriations on either my side of the aisle or the other side, you are casting this city precisely where it cannot be cast, as just another federal appropriation. This is a living, breathing city. And the notion of holding up our budget under any circumstances or not distinguishing between the District of Columbia appropriation, which is a budget, a local budget, not one of your 12 appropriations, a local budget, and the other budgets, is breaking my heart. Puts me in an impossible position. I have a greater number of federal employees than any part of this region. And of course, because I support this piecemeal approach, I'm leaving them behind. But what am I to do? What would you do if your local budget was here? Would you mention it in the same breath with the HHS budget or the Labor Department budget or the VA budget? I was here when there was a piecemeal approach, and it was painful. After the district was shut down for 1 week, I went to Speaker Newt Gingrich, and I said, please don't do that again for the district. And there were CRs, and there were bills, but each and every time he kept the district open. So I'm asking, keep the district open. Don't dare compare us to your appropriations. I understand the resentment of my side to what is being done here. But carry out your resentment without putting us in the position of a thing, nothing but another piece of appropriation that you have something to do with. It's $8 billion, local money, not one dime of federal money. Shouldn't be here. If it's here, everybody in this chamber ought to be doing everything that she can to get it out of here. 120 Democrats signed my letter, and I thank each and every one of you, to the leadership to say, free the district budget, don't let them close down. And what the mayor is doing now is cobbling together a piecemeal approach of his own with contingency funds. He's keeping the District of Columbia government running, but that's going to run out in a few days. And when it does, my friends, guess what happens? We can't appropriate a dollar even if he declares that they are all exempt without running into the Anti-Deficiency Act. And so we face default on our contracts because apparently neither side can tell the difference between a city and an appropriation of the federal government. I ask you, please do not leave us in that position. If this only keeps us open until December the 15th, how pitiful. So we'll be back again begging and pleading. It's on the floor now, only because I have begged and pleaded the majority. And yes, I thank you, Mr. Chairman, the chairman of our committee. Yes, that's what I've done. To say, please bring it any way you can. Bring it to the floor. I lived through the shutdown of the District of Columbia once. This city, what makes this most frustrating for me is that we have worked and now have a bicameral, bipartisan support for shutdown avoidance legislation for the District of Columbia. The president put it in his budget. The chairman of the full committee, Mr. Issa, has a bill that would keep the district from shutting down and go even further. Both the Appropriation Committee deferred to the authorizers, but said it believed that shutdown hurt the District of Columbia. And the appropriation of the Senate has shutdown avoidance language right in it for the District of Columbia. No member has come to the floor to justify closing down the district, and I do not believe there is a Republican or a Democrat that wants to shut down the District of Columbia. So yes, when the time comes to vote, there are going to be three. And I am asking you to distinguish between the other appropriation, and I'll show that you know the difference between a city and with its own money and a federal appropriation. And please vote to keep the District of Columbia running until December the 5th.